Well, thank you for joining us today for today's webcast. We're going to be talking about some solutions to help grow your Office 365 managed services practice. The webcast here is intended for those of us who are out there doing Office 365 work and looking for ways of building and expanding the practices that we have, both from a resell as well as managed services. I'm David Husonica. I'm president at Cloud AG. We are a Office 365 Champions Club partner and have been working with Office 365 and the different add-on solutions for about 4 years now. And this is something that we as a partner have done ourselves and are very interested in helping other partners see how this might also apply to helping growing your practices. Um, if you have questions along the way, we do have everybody muted now just in the interest of trying to reduce background noise. But please feel free to use the chat window to submit questions. We'll try to answer those either during the session or at the end. And if for some reason we don't get to your question, we will reply to you via email as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you've been on any Microsoft or Gartner or other type of organizations calls, you've probably seen a slide similar to this. And what it really is a model that Microsoft and others are recommending for partners in order to increase margins as it relates to their cloud businesses. Starting, at the low end, if you're only a reseller of solutions, you have a certain margin, and the way to increase profitability and margin in the business is to kind of climb the scale here of adding project services to those products. And then if you're able to then move into the ability to also offer managed services around your cloud products, the ability to transcend to the next level for increasing your margins, and then also kind of the ability, if you have access to or have ideas around packaged IP, that's also a way that you can even increase margins to a higher level. So that's part of what this session is about, is talking about some ways that you can get to the managed services margin potential, as well as we're going to talk about some packaged IP that you might be able to incorporate along with your own services that can even drive higher margins. You may have also come across a scenario like this, kind of illustrating kind of in a simple scenario, which is about coffee, about how coffee producers and people who work in that industry have been able to increase significantly the value and the margins associated with coffee. If you look on the left, and just buying a pound of coffee, what the revenue associated with that. But if you look at ways of adding your own value to that base product of coffee, such as different ways of repackaging the coffee in the canisters that are Keurig canisters that are quite popular now, you can see that just by packaging it differently, you can increase your margins significantly and also the value to the customer significantly. So moving from a pretty low revenue, moving it all the way up to, if you bought it at the far end from a Starbucks, you can see that that same pound of coffee is going from, it's no longer $1.35, it's actually $600 a pound. So the idea of taking something that is relatively low margin or low cost and being able to add or wrap around your own value to be able to increase that value and demand more revenue and also make more margin on that particular solution. And we'll come back to this in just a moment, and we'll talk about how that same scenario may look with some of the products that we'll take a look at here today. Some case studies of how we as a Microsoft partner have done this is one example. There's one of our customers here, Albion Scotia. They're a small mid-market company. They're a general contractor, and they had a need to move to the cloud, so we were able to move them onto Office 365 as a core product. But in addition to that, the ability to add on to that core product some managed services around the AvePoint Doc Online product, and then also some packaged IP. And so moving them from a customer that was only going to be doing Office 365, and we all know what the margins look like if it's that product only, up to a much higher margin by adding on some additional products and also managed services. And so we could take a relatively small organization and move in a relatively small deal and move that up the ladder a bit to be a bit more attractive for our business. Another scenario, a little bit larger company, CD Group is an example. They have about 150 employee technology company. Same scenario, they needed to move to the cloud, and so we were able to, get them moved over to Office 365, which was great. But, rather than, staying there, the ability to grow that revenue opportunity for our business by adding in some managed services around AvePoint's Doc Online, as well as some packaged IP, which ServicePoint 365, which we'll talk about both of those solutions here in a bit. We were able to once again increase the overall interest or opportunity for our business with CD Group, and also add more value to them. So taking that same scenario that we just looked at for the coffee and being able to increase the value, if you look at it now through the world that we live in, which is Office 365, a simple scenario here, if you were to sell a subscription to a client for Office 365, let's say it's Business Premium at $12.50 a seat per month, you can stay there, and we all know the margins associated with just the core Office 365. But if we were able to, in our scenarios, add on maybe some managed services around, in this case, restore, granular backup and restore, we're able to move them from $12.50 a month to $16.50 a month per seat. And then finally, if we're able to wrap around also some packaged IP, in this case ServicePoint 365, we're then able to move them to $23.50 a seat per month. So it's basically a 2x increase in revenue and significant increase in the underlying margin that we're able to drive from that one customer simply by not just stopping with Office 365, by adding on additional managed services and packaged IP. So how do we achieve this is we have partnered with AvePoint, and through that partnership we have able to access their tools that really provide value to us as a reseller and managed service provider, and also to our customers. And the value really you could put into three different categories. They have products that allow us to provide additional protection and management of the client's Office 365 environment. And then they also, at the far end to the right, they also have products that help us in migrating companies to that platform. And then in the middle, solutions to help manage or configure the environment. And we've also expanded that configuration bucket in the middle to include some other IP that we offer as a company, ServicePoint 365. So we're going to talk about the first two buckets here today, about how the solutions look and act and feel as it relates to providing management and granular backup and restore, as well as we'll talk a little bit about the packaged IP, about how we can add that to the overall equation and again drive more margin and also manage services. So the product from a granular backup and restore, many organizations, partners, as well as customers, they question, is this something that's necessary based on what Microsoft does naturally with Office 365? and realizing that there's different plans within Office 365, and different plans contain different features. But if you're looking at kind of the SMB size plan, which is the business and business premium plans, some of the things that are really missing is first of all, from a baseline, Office 365 only retains content that is deleted for a limited period of time. There are recycle bins for Exchange Online and also SharePoint Online and OneDrive. And so, if something gets deleted, it does fall to the recycle bin, but that recycle bin is purged periodically by Microsoft, and the length of time that it stays in recycle bin is changes, but I think it's currently somewhere around 90 days that it stays in the recycle bin, and once it's gone from there, it's gone. So the ability to have more control over the retention of products or items that have been deleted, as well as the ability to respond to that and be able to get that content back. Also, another area that's missing, the second item here, is in SharePoint Online, if in fact you needed to have Microsoft do a restore for you for SharePoint Online, if you can get them to do it, really the only option is restore at an entire site collection level, which can be problematic if you're, it's one thing to get back everything in the site collection, but as things have changed, that also can be problematic in that you don't really want to restore the entire site collection. You only want to restore maybe a document that has gone missing. And that's really the third item, is there's not really in the baseline the ability to do item level restores for deleted or lost items once they've reached the recycle bin purge limit. And so, and then if you need to do a restore, that's something that from Microsoft anyway, if they are able to do it even, that restore has to be scheduled, and many times the ability to actually get that restore accomplished is not really timely enough for the client. So these are really four items that are kind of missing, so to speak, in the baseline, and that the solution that we're going to talk about really responds to these issues and gives you some alternatives to be able to provide this service to your customers. So the product that we're going to talk about is a product called DocAv Online, and it is a completely SaaS-based solution, meaning that there's nothing that you need to install locally. You essentially log into the product. You provide the credentials for your client's Office 365 tenancy, and then you're off and running, creating backup plans as well as doing restores if necessary. The solution is something that's now in use with over 4 million Office 365 seats, so it is quite popular. When we were looking as a Microsoft partner for a solution to bring to our customers, this was the solution after evaluating several other alternatives we felt was best suited, and a couple of the I think the key things were the fact that it was a SaaS model, that nothing to install. And then another thing that was really key for us is we wanted to have a single product that would work across all the assets within Office 365. And we found that there were some other solutions out there that may do backup and restore for email only, or there's other solutions that kind of grew up in the SharePoint world and they do that but not email. And then some of them don't do anything with OneDrive, and it was real important for us when we looked at trying to find a solution for our customers that we could kind of land on a single platform that did all of those assets. And that's what DocAv Online does, is it allows you through this single UI and this single platform be able to manage SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, and also OneDrive for Business. And so a little bit about how it works, just to give you a little bit of a visual that you can take away from today's session, is you essentially log into the portal and you point it at your the Office 365 tenancy that you want to be able to work with, providing it with credentials. And then from that point on, you're able to then go in and start configuring backup plans. that will run, as well as responding to restore incidents. And so on this screen, if you look at the bottom area that's highlighted Exchange Online Backup, you can see to the right of it, if I needed to work with Exchange Online, all I do is go into that area and I can either create a backup plan, I can initiate a restore, all from that one menu. And then right above it is where I would do the same thing, but for SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. So let's step through maybe just a quick scenario here and talk, show you a little bit of the screens involved. And we'll start with Exchange Online first. So this is the main screen if you're going to go build a backup plan for your customer's Exchange Online environment. On the left side of the screen, you'll see this is where it lists the different, it's scanned the tenancy and it's returned all the different mailboxes that are on that tenancy, and you're able to group those mailboxes into different groups. So for instance, if you need to have a slightly different backup strategy for the executive team mailboxes than you do for employees versus maybe contractors, you could create different groups and add mailboxes to those groups, and then you could have a slightly different backup plan that handled how those particular mailboxes are backed up. But on the left side of the screen is essentially where you tell it what you want backed up, and it can be a single mailbox or it could be everybody's all in one groups. And then if you look over on the right side of the screen, this is where you provide some additional parameters, and starting with where do you want the information to be backed up to. So through this platform, you have a variety of options that you can configure for where the content from Office 365 is backed up to. And those options can span anywhere from other cloud backup or storage locations such as Azure, Amazon, Rackspace, or you could configure your own FTP or SFTP location, and a number of other options as well. So there's a number of different selections that you can choose based on what your need is and what your client's desire is as to where the content is actually backed up. So giving you that flexibility. And then the next section here, right below that on the right, is the schedule. So you can build out a schedule of your choice. In this case, this particular backup plan, it may be a little bit hard to read the screen, but you can. This one is actually doing a full backup once a week, and you can tell it what day of the week and also what time of the day you want that to kick off. And then it's also doing incremental backup every day, and you can also tell it what time of the day you want to kick that off. And then a couple other parameters below it, such as do you want it compressed and do you want it encrypted? And then also there's the ability to specify an alert so that whenever the backup plan executes, when it completes, it automatically fires a notification off to somebody on your team, which gives them both a summary as well as detailed information about that particular plan. So if there's any exceptions that occurred, they can go respond to that. So that's quite simply how all there is to it, to creating a backup plan for Exchange Online. Again, on the left, what do you want backed up, and then on the right is where you want backed up to, and then what schedule, and that's all there is to creating the backup plan. Now, in the event that something needs to be restored, in this case, we'll stick with an Exchange Online example. Your team can go in and select which backup they want to restore from. So it starts with the time-based view of the backups, and they can select, the restore or the backup that they actually want to use for the restore. And then from that point on, they're able to specify what they want to restore. And if you look on the left side, you can see once again, here's all the different mailboxes. So I could restore at a mailbox level. I could restore if I want to, or maybe it's just a particular folder within the mailbox. Or maybe in this case, the screen that we're showing here, maybe it's just an individual item within a folder within a mailbox. So the window that's popped up here is showing me the different mail items that's in a folder that's in somebody's mailbox. So I can be very granular and say, I don't want to restore an entire mailbox or an entire folder. I only want to restore a single mail item. and that gives the solution gives the ability to get that granular as to how you want to respond or what your client needs to get back. And then once you select what you want to restore, then you can tell it where you want it restored to. And once again, you've got some options. You can do, if you look on the right side of the screen where the arrow is, you can do what's called an in-place restore, which will put it right back where it was. So if we selected a single mail item, it would put that mail item right back into the folder, into the mailbox where it was backed up from. Or I can do what's called an out-of-place restore, which in that case is showing me down below the arrow there's additional mailboxes, so I could actually restore something to somebody else's mailboxes. Maybe it's a supervisor's mailbox, as an example. Or I could restore it to a storage policy. In that case, it would create a PST file for whatever I selected to restore, and then save it to, for instance, if I'm using Azure as my storage policy, I can just store, save that PST file off to Azure, and then I can go work with it in any fashion I want. So very easy to initiate it and do a restore and respond to those cases where something in Exchange Online has gone missing, either by accident or on purpose. So moving now over to the SharePoint and the OneDrive world, and you'll see there's a lot of consistency in how these screens work. So here I am creating a backup plan for SharePoint and OneDrive, and if you look over on the left side of the screen, it's exposed. It's already scanned all the different SharePoint site collections, as well as all the OneDrive that are in the tenancy. And so once again, I can be I can say I want to back up all of my SharePoint site collections, or I could go and untick or uncheck any of them and say I only want to back up certain site collections, or unfold it and even get down to individual sites or lower levels. Same way for OneDrives. I can back them all up, or I can be very selective and say I only want to back up certain OneDrives. And once again, the ability to do groups is very easy to do. So you can organize content into different groups, such as the executive teams, OneDrives. You want to back up and maybe have a different backup strategy for them versus others. And then if you look on the right side of the screen, the ability to specify the storage policy, which would be here's where you want it backed up to, and then also your schedule. So you can do full backups, incremental backups, just like you saw in the Exchange Online world. So you can be very specific as to how often you want backed up. In this case, we're doing, once again, full backup once a week, and then we're doing incremental backup daily. And then below that, since we are talking SharePoint and OneDrive, the ability to say, do you want to include all versions of documents in the backup? Do you want to include workflows that you define? Do you want to include list views? All of those things can be included. You can also choose to compress the data and encrypt the data, as well as the ability to specify, who's alerted for a particular backup plan once it's run. So very similar, some additional options for the SharePoint OneDrive, since we are talking documents. But again, the ability to create a backup plan, very, very consistent across all the different Office 365 assets. Now, in the event that you do need to do a restore, similar capability here, we've unfolded a site collection. So I can pick, which backup I want to restore from, and then I can pick what level I want to restore. So I can restore at a full site collection level, or in this case, we've unfolded it, and you can see the tree where it's now down to individual sites, subsites, and then even unfolded down to the different web parts that are on a particular site, so document libraries, lists, and so forth. So I can restore at any of those levels, as well as I can open up just maybe a document library and pick just a single document, and that would be the only thing that we would want to restore in that case. And then whenever you decide what you want to restore, again, very similar to what we saw with Exchange Online, you can pick where you want to restore it to, which is your options are putting it back where it was, the in-place restore, or you can restore it to a different location. So I could restore it to, if it's SharePoint, a different site collection or site. If it's OneDrive, I could restore it to somebody else's OneDrive if I needed. So again, very consistent across Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business on how you able to respond to create backup plans as well as respond to restoring content in the event that something goes missing. So that's a little bit about the backup and restore capability that we use as a part of our managed services practice. But there's some other features within the product that we also wanted to point out, because there's some very useful capabilities around being able to manage and administer SharePoint Online environments. So if you this menu here, the administrator menu, is where you can do other things with SharePoint Online, such as you can create SharePoint Online groups, permission groups. You can assign people to the groups. You can do audits on who has access to what and what groups are in play. There's a content manager which provides you the capability to move content between SharePoint Online environments and to restructure content. Maybe you need to make a site, actually a site collection. Maybe you need to move content from one place to another, and you want to do some tagging of metadata. All of that can be done with the content manager and also the deployment manager. And then also there's a replicator tool as well. So if you had lists or libraries that you want to keep in sync across multiple locations, you have the ability to do that, where you can maybe it's a client list that resides in multiple locations and you want to keep it in sync. You can have the replicator tool basically keeping those lists or libraries in sync across multiple sites. And then the next the menu option is around reporting. There's advanced reporting as well. You can do administrative reports, you can do compliance reporting, and this is above and beyond the standard SharePoint online reporting. So you can get more detailed information about who's doing what within your SharePoint Online environment, as well as who has access to what, and be able to make sure that you're not out of compliance with access. And then the final category of solution within DocAv Online is there's an online archiver. So this comes useful to where you can specify policies around when data reaches or content reaches a certain life, you can have it automatically archived to a different location. And so those are all things that you can set within the archiver tool. You can set policies, and it will take care of handling that automatically for you. So beyond just granular backups and restores, which is a lot of kind of low-hanging fruit, because a lot of organizations are very interested in starting to provide that capability to their customers, because it gives them that extra protection. Beyond the data protection or backup restore, just wanted to point out some of those other administrative tools, such as permissioning and site policies and reporting, that also comes with this platform that can be very useful for your managed services team. And all of these things that we just went through are packaged up into this one product. And so again, you get quite a bit of capability within this one DocAv Online solution for growing the additional services for your Office 365 managed services team. So coming soon also, in the interest of partners providing managed services, there's some new portals that are being released that give you as a managed service provider the ability to view all of your customers within a single portal. So you can get both summary level information, such as this screen here, which shows the clients, and it gives you some statistics around those particular clients and any stats that are being captured. And then also the ability to, of course, each of your clients would be tied to you, and then the ability to actually license clients. So you as a partner can go in there and very easily now, once this portal is released, and issue trial licenses to clients so that they can test out the environment if necessary, then actually turn that into a real license. And these are all things that can be done today, but you basically do that you go in and do that on an individual tenancy level through individual screens. And so this is rolling it up into more of a partner view that gives you the ability to do that a lot easier as a managed service provider. And then also the final area that is being built out is the ability to monitor any help tickets or help requests that have been issued by your customers. So this will give you a summary view back from AvePoint on those things so that you can monitor issues or tickets that your customers may have been working with the AvePoint support team directly on. So those partner view portals are things that are coming soon. They should be somewhere in the fall here, is what we've been told. But we'll give you some additional views on your customers and be able to manage them in mass. So you're going to run across different scenarios with customers. You've got some customers that want to do it all themselves. We call them self-managed, and you have the ability to, in those cases, you can just resell subscriptions to the product. That's what we do, and maybe they have IT capability in house and they want to just manage it themselves. So you can just resell a subscription to Av Online, and they can with their own team go in there and do all the things that we just explored. You can also sell it as a managed service, which basically hands off from the customer, so your team can take care of running the environment and doing it, and then basically wrapping your fees up into an overall managed service fee. And then you might have kind of that murky middle where you want to have shared responsibilities. So for instance, maybe a client leans on your team to kind of set things up and configure things, but they want to have their own teams be responsible for doing the restores whenever those restore scenarios come up. So you can kind of have that shared responsibility. So all three of these models are fully supported, so you can be anywhere from just reselling subscriptions to full-on managed service or anywhere in between. So when we talk about managed services and managed service activities around particularly the backup and restore scenario with Av, what do we mean? What are the actual activities that that clients may be asking for, and this is what we provide ourselves. So, what we package up is we provide the ability to where we will actually go in and configure with some input from the client, such as the retention rules, how long they want to keep things and how often they want things backed up. But we will go in and actually configure the backup plans for the client so that they don't have to have anybody who needs to learn, how to go in and do that themselves. We will also configure their storage if depending on again what their preference is or what our preference is, and quite popular. We use a lot of Azure Blob storage as really being the storage that we configure for our managed service clients. So what that means is we will create a special container within Azure for each client and point their backups to their container. And so we do that configuration, and then whenever the backup jobs are running, again, it spits out notifications. So our team will monitor the backup jobs, and in the event that there's some type of exception that occurred within the particular backup, we will get in there and help resolve. For instance, if the passwords had expired, or maybe a mailbox had been deleted, or maybe if they're using a unique storage scenario, maybe that particular storage device had got full. So those are all examples of exceptions that may come up, and so we'll help resolve them. And then in the event that the client does need a restore, what we do is you can offer that restore service where the managed services team can do the restore, And the options on that is you can include it as a part of your monthly service, where you just whatever monthly managed service fee, it includes your any time that you spend doing a restore, or you could also charge that on an incident basis. So in that case, if a restore is necessary, you're doing it, but you're going to charge them an additional incremental fee, either hourly or per incident fee, to actually do that restore. So those are the different activities that you'll find may come up from offering a managed service, and these are the activities that we do as a managed service provider using DocAv Online for our customers. So that's a bit about being able to use the product to help protect your client's environment. And so a couple other things we're going to talk about quickly is some other solutions that we are also using as an Office 365 partner to help drive some additional value, and it's around packaged IP that we can also add to our client's environment. And the packaged IP that we focus on is IP that really helps clients unlock the SharePoint Online component of Office 365. If you've been doing Office 365 for a while, you probably have recognized that when it comes to all the different pieces of the puzzle, SharePoint Online is that one piece that is very difficult for clients to get value out of. And it's, good news is SharePoint Online can do a lot of things, but the bad news is it can do a lot of things and you need to know something about it. So, we run into more often than not, Office 365 customers that, it sits there. They don't really know what to do with it. They don't have the skills to really unlock it. And many times, partners that are working with, particularly in the mid-market, they may not have deep SharePoint benches or much skill at all themselves. So what way that we resolve that is we have a product that is also available to other resellers that basically it pre-configures SharePoint Online around 11 different what we call centers or content areas, and it gets applied to the client's SharePoint Online tenancy directly, and it sets it up to where you can do anywhere from company intranet to client management, simple CRM, project management, proposal management, resource management, process, knowledge management, and even partner management. So all of these centers, which there are 11 of them that come out of the box, they're already configured, ready to go. And so you apply this application to the client's environment, and it gives you an alternative to get them up and running quickly using SharePoint Online without the need for deep SharePoint skills, either on the client level or from the partner. And so just a quick glimpse into some examples. Many of the centers look and feel the same way, but if we explore maybe a little deeper here real quick, Project Center, to show you a little bit more behind it. So if they were to click on Project Center, what it would show them is, okay, here's all the different projects that are going on. And of course all the navs down the left so you can jump between centers very easily. But in this case on Project Center is showing me the client, the name of the project, and then some other metadata that has been tagged to the project, such as what service line is that project a part of, or who's the project lead, and what's the project start date and things like that, or what city they're in. So those are just examples of many of the fields that come with the application out of the box. You can reach back and pull forward other fields that are more valuable, and then also you can add your own fields. But the idea is to provide a central place where all projects would be stored, and then each project can have their own workspace. But if I were to go and add a new project, I simply click on New Item, and it brings up the Project Add form. And this is where you can add the project to the list as well as tag it with any of the metadata. And so fields such as project type, which you see in the middle of the screen, the project types would actually reflect what the client's project types are. So as a part of install, we collect up, you're able to collect up from the client, what are their different project types. Those get loaded. Therefore, whenever their environment gets provisioned, those values are there. So very easy to go add a new project to the list. And then we've also made it very simple to create what we call a workspace for each project, which is where all the documents and deliverables and project calendars would be found. And just to show a quick example, so here I am looking at an individual project, which is ServicePoint 365, its workspace. And so what it would be contain would be, some summary information about the project. It would also, the workspace can have the documents and deliverables. There's also, if I scroll down, the project calendar, project task lists, contacts, all the important things related to an individual project, and it gives you, one nice, neat workspace, all that information so that the team, the client's team, or whoever they're collaborating with, can be able to, it has really a centralized place to be able to collaborate and work on project deliverables and content and manage the activities related to it. So that's an example of a project workspace. And so we've provided that templates and through ServicePoint 365. And you also have the ability to easily tweak any of the information that you find within ServicePoint 365. So this is an example of the settings screen, and so a lot of the requests that have come in are around things like, maybe I don't need to use every center. So you can see on the screen we've got the ability to very quickly turn on and off which of those centers you actually want to use in the client's environment. So you can turn them on and off. You can change the name of them. So basically repurpose the centers. And then each of the workspaces down below you can unfold, and there's options as to, for instance, when we saw the project workspace, there was a document library and a details area, and if I had scrolled down you would have seen a calendar and task list. So you can go in and turn on and off which of those components are provisioned whenever a workspace is created, and each center has their own set of configuration options. So we've externalized these things and give you the ability to change the configuration and tweak the template without needing to have deep SharePoint skills. So again, this is an example of some packaged IP that we use quite frequently with our clients, and is also available for you to use, that you could resell into your customers and wrap additional services and managed services around. So kind of getting to the end of the presentation here, again, if you look at the different things that we talked about today, we looked at some tools to help you provide additional protection for your clients. In the granular backup and restore, we looked at some tools to help you configure their environment. We looked briefly at some packaged IP, ServicePoint 365, which can help you do that. We didn't explore the migration tools. That's kind of its own topic, but there are also migration tools that are available from AvePoint that can migrate content from really most any source, whether it's file share or SharePoint on-prem or other type of document management solutions into SharePoint Online. So those are other tools that are available from AvePoint. So quite a strong array of solutions. And once again, kind of getting back to the beginning where we talked about why we decided to kind of land and partner with AvePoint was we felt like the breadth of the solution set that they had available and that we could leverage we covered pretty much all the bases that we needed in order to provide the managed services to our clients. So what are some good next steps? So in addition to being a partner of AvePoint, we also help them in initiating other resellers into the program to become resellers. So we do this as an additional set of services in conjunction with AvePoint. So we have the ability to get you signed up. So if you're interested in the solutions that you saw here today, adding them to your array of solutions, to be able to to start earning additional margins and revenue around managed services, we can get you set up. And all you need to do is send us an email at partner@cloudag.com, and we will get you started. There's some reseller agreements that the partner team will send over to you, which are pretty simple. And really what those agreements do is it tells you, the margin that you'll earn on the subscriptions. It also entitles you to then receive some additional pre-sales assistance. So in some of the initial deals that you get involved in, you may need some help in either demoing the tools or explaining or researching different scenarios. And as a part of the partner program or reseller program, we'll be able to help you with that. We can also help you with joint marketing activities, where if you want to create and put out a webcast, for instance, for your customers, maybe your install customers, to show them the value of backup and restore, we can provide you some resource to help with the skills to be able to do the demos. And then when it comes to ServicePoint 365, that SharePoint Online app that we took a glimpse at, it also gives you, by joining the reseller program, internal use rights of that product, so you can actually install it in your own SharePoint Online environment and use it for your own purposes, both to be able to manage your own content as well as gain additional skills around it. So all of those things are a part of the reseller program. So we invite you to reach out to us after this webcast. Simply email partner@cloudag.com, and we'll get you going with the reseller program. So that's kind of the end of the presentation for today. So we've explored a lot of content, and hopefully some of that made sense and some of that lines up with your business. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to end the recording here, and then we'll open it up for questions, and be able to unmute you, as well as we'll see if there's any questions that came in through the chat that we need to handle. So let me stop the recording here.